Hey there. Ready to unlock a whole new level of productivity? We're diving into the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. The book that promises to transform your life before the rest of the world even wakes up.
You make it sound exciting. It's more than just waking up early, though, isn't it? It's about taking control of that first hour and using it strategically.
Strategically, huh? I'll admit, that 5 a.m. alarm sounds a bit daunting, even to me. Why is 5 a.m. so magical? Couldn't we just have, like, a 7 a.m. power hour and call it a day?
Well, think about it as the day goes on. It's like a constant barrage of distractions, right? Emails, messages, meetings, all pulling you in different directions. 5 a.m. offers something special, quiet.
Okay, I'm listening. Quiet time does sound kind of appealing, actually, but how does that translate into actual productivity and personal growth?
Imagine this. Your inbox is silent, your phone is still asleep, and you have this uninterrupted time to focus on yourself. That's what Sharma calls the victory hour.
Victory hour, huh? Sounds a bit dramatic, but I'm intrigued. What exactly goes on during this pre-dawn power session?
Sharma suggests a structured 20-20-20 formula. 20 minutes of move, 20 minutes of reflect, and 20 minutes of grow.
Okay, I'm officially curious. Let's break it down. What kind of move are we talking about at 5 a.m.? I'm not sure I'm ready for a marathon before sunrise.
No marathons required. It's about getting your body moving and your blood flowing. Could be anything from a quick workout to some yoga stretches, even just a brisk walk around the block.
Okay, that's doable. I'm all for starting the day with some energy. But what about reflect? I feel like that could look very different for different people.
You're absolutely right. Reflect is all about creating mental clarity and finding your center. Some people might meditate, others might journal, some might simply sit in silence and enjoy a cup of coffee.
So it's about finding what works for you to quiet the mind and connect with yourself before the day's chaos takes over.
Precisely. Even a few minutes of mindfulness can make a world of difference in terms of reducing stress and improving focus.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal of this victory hour thing. But what about grow? Am I supposed to be speed reading self-help books while the sun comes up?
Not necessarily. Grow is about expanding your knowledge and skill set. It could be reading, listening to a podcast, or working on a personal project. The key is to choose something that stimulates your mind and helps you learn and develop.
This all sounds great in theory, but honestly, I'm not a huge fan of rigid schedules. Wouldn't that take away from the spontaneity of life?
That's a valid concern. The 20-20-20 formula is more of a framework than a strict rule. The key is to personalize each element. Maybe your move is dancing to your favorite music, your reflect is writing poetry, and your grow is listening to an inspiring audiobook.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit better. But I still have to ask, why the emphasis on 5 a.m.? Couldn't someone achieve the same results with a 10 p.m. power hour if they're more of a night owl?
It's true that different people thrive at different times of day, but there's something special about that early morning energy. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and it's a time when you can truly focus on yourself without the distractions of the day.
I've always admired those people who seem to glide through their mornings with a sense of purpose. Maybe they're onto something with this 5 a.m. thing, but Sharma doesn't stop there, right? He digs into some deeper concepts, too.
He does. He introduces this idea of the 4 interior empires, which I find fascinating. They are mindset, heartset, healthset, and soulset.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
That sounds almost like a recipe for a well-rounded and fulfilling life, wouldn't you say?
I think of it as a framework for personal mastery. It's about cultivating strength and balance across those 4 interconnected areas.
All right, I'm hooked. Break down those empires for me. What does each one entail?
So mindset is all about cultivating a positive and resilient mental outlook. It's how you approach challenges and setbacks. Do you see them as opportunities to learn and grow, or as roadblocks? Then there's Heartset, which is all about emotional well-being, nurturing healthy relationships, cultivating compassion, and finding joy in genuine connections.
So it's not just about thinking positively, it's about feeling deeply and connecting with others authentically. What are the other 2?
Right. And Healthset, as you might guess, is all about taking care of your physical well-being, nourishing your body with healthy food, getting enough sleep, and moving your body regularly. And finally, Soulset is about nurturing your spirit and living a life that's aligned with your values. It's about connecting with something larger than yourself, finding meaning and purpose in what you do.
This resonates with me. It aligns so well with what we know about personal growth. It's recognizing that true success comes from a place of inner harmony and strength, not just external achievements.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect in all those areas all the time, but rather about constantly striving to grow and improve across each dimension. It's about recognizing those areas where we might need to focus a bit more attention.
I love that. So we're not just setting an early alarm, we're setting the stage for a more intentional and fulfilling life.
Precisely. And this leads us to another key concept in the 5 a.m. Club, the idea of islands of genius.
Okay, islands of genius. Now you're really speaking my language. Are we talking about a literal tropical island retreat to unlock our potential?
Haha, I wish. Although a change of scenery can be inspiring, islands of genius are more about creating those dedicated blocks of time in your day for deep, focused work. Think of it like carving out your own mental sanctuary, free from distractions.
In our world of constant notifications and multitasking, that sounds like a superpower, honestly. How do we actually make that happen in real life?
It starts with awareness. Pay attention to when you feel most alert and focused during the day. Are you a morning person who thrives before the world wakes up, or do you hit your stride later in the day? Once you figure that out, you can schedule your most important tasks for those peak performance windows.
So it's about working with our natural rhythms, not against them. I like that. But even with the best intentions, distractions are everywhere. How do we create those islands of genius when our phones are constantly buzzing and our inboxes are overflowing?
It takes conscious effort, for sure. Minimize those distractions, turn off notifications, close those unnecessary tabs, create a workspace that signals to your brain, okay, it's focus time now.
This reminds me of all that research on flow states, those moments of complete absorption in a task where time seems to disappear and we produce our best work. It sounds like these islands of genius are a strategic way to tap into that flow more intentionally.
Exactly. And when you combine that concept with the victory hour and the four interior empires, it's like a powerful synergy starts to emerge. It's about creating the optimal conditions for peak performance, not just in your work, but in all areas of your life.
Okay, this is all starting to click for me. It's not just about waking up early, it's about crafting a holistic approach to life. But let's be realistic. How do we make these changes stick? I know Sharma talks about a 66-day rule for habit formation. And to be honest, I'm both intrigued and intimidated by that concept.
You and me both. That 66-day rule is where things get really interesting. It's about rewiring our brains for lasting change, and that's a journey we can dive into next time.
Okay, we've laid the groundwork for a more fulfilling life with this whole 5 a.m. club thing.
Yeah.
But how do we go from good intentions to actually making those changes stick? I'm ready to dive into this 66-day habit formation rule. Tell me everything.
All right, so you've probably heard that old saying, it takes 21 days to form a habit, right?
Yeah, I think we've all heard that at some point.
Well, it turns out that might not be entirely true. Sharma, and actually a lot of recent research suggests that it takes closer to 66 days for new behaviors to become automatic.
66 days, huh? That's quite a bit longer than I thought. So we're talking about some serious commitment here.
It's not just about willpower, it's about actually rewiring our brains, and that takes consistent effort over time. It's a journey, you could say.
A 66-day journey. I am sensing a but coming here.
Well, those 66 days aren't always easy. Sharma breaks this process down into 3 stages: destruction, installation, and integration.
Okay, destruction, installation, integration. Sounds a bit intense, but also kind of exciting, like we're rebuilding ourselves from the ground up.
That's a great way to think about it. The first stage, destruction, is all about breaking down those old patterns, the ones that aren't serving us anymore.
Oh, I know those patterns all too well. The snooze button, the late-night Netflix binges, the endless scrolling on social media.
Exactly. And let's be honest, this stage can be pretty uncomfortable.
I can imagine. It's like we're dismantling our autopilot, fighting against the urge to just fall back into our comfort zones, right?
You got it. You're essentially going against years, maybe even decades of ingrained habits.
So how do we get past that initial resistance?
Yeah.
I tried to become a morning person once, lasted about 3 days, before I went back to hitting the snooze button.
Sharma says that this stage, from day 1 to 22, is all about remembering your why. Why are you doing this? What's the compelling reason behind this new habit?
Okay, so it's about connecting to that deeper motivation, the vision of who we want to become. It's not just about dragging ourselves out of bed. It's about creating a more fulfilling life.
Precisely. And that sense of purpose can really help when things get tough, which they probably will, especially in those first few weeks.
So let's say we've pushed through those first 22 days, we've broken down those old patterns. What's next? What does installation look like?
Well, installation, from days 23 to 44, is where the new habit starts to take root, like planting a seed. You've prepared the soil, but you still need to water it consistently, give it some sunlight.
Okay, so we're starting to see some progress, but it's not all sunshine and roses just yet.
Right. It still requires conscious effort, and you might experience some frustration as it doesn't feel totally natural yet. You might have days where you slip up or feel tempted to go back to your old ways.
Ah, the dreaded slip-up. I think we've all been there. What's the best way to deal with those moments?
Yeah.
Do we just give up and start over?
No, definitely not. The key is to avoid that all or nothing thinking. One missed day, or even a few, doesn't mean you failed. Just acknowledge it, learn from it, and get back on track.
That's a good point. It's so easy to get discouraged and feel like we've ruined everything. But it sounds like it's more about being kind to ourselves and just keeping moving forward.
Exactly. Remember, your brain is literally rewiring itself during this stage, forming new neural pathways. Every time you engage in that new behavior, you're strengthening those pathways, making it more likely that the habit will stick.
That's amazing to think about. It's like we're literally reshaping our brains. Okay, so we've battled through destruction. We're nurturing those new habits and installation. What's the grand finale? What does integration feel like?
Integration from days 45 to 66 is where the magic really happens. The habit starts to become more automatic. You need less conscious effort. It's becoming a part of who you are, like brushing your teeth or making your morning coffee.
So it's like we've finally reached that point of mastery. We're no longer forcing it. We're just flowing with it.
Exactly. And you'll probably feel a sense of ease and flow as the behavior just becomes part of your routine. You might even find yourself doing it without thinking about it. That's when you know it's truly integrated.
That's a pretty cool feeling. I'm thinking about learning to drive a car. At first, it was also conscious and deliberate, like, okay, check the mirror, signal, turn the wheel. But then one day, it just clicked. You're not thinking about every single step anymore. You're just driving.
That's the perfect analogy. And just like learning to drive, forming a new habit can be challenging at first, but the rewards are so worth it.
I'm starting to see the light at the end of this 66-day tunnel. But even with this framework, I imagine there are still some common pitfalls people might encounter. What are some things we should be aware of, and how can we navigate those challenges?
You're right, it's rarely a perfectly smooth journey. One of the biggest challenges is dealing with those inevitable setbacks. Life happens, right? There will be days when you just can't stick to your routine perfectly.
Oh, I know those days all too well. You oversleep, or you get called into work unexpectedly, or you just have a day where everything feels completely overwhelming.
Exactly. And that's where that all or nothing thinking can really sabotage our efforts. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Don't let one missed day or even a few derail your entire effort.
So it's about embracing those imperfections as part of the process, not letting them define our success or failure.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination. Another common pitfall is negative self-talk. That inner critic that loves to tell us we can't do it or that we're not good enough.
Oh, that inner critic is the worst. It can be so loud sometimes.
It can be. But learning to recognize and challenge those negative thoughts is so important. It's about becoming our own best cheerleaders.
I love that. So even with the right mindset, I imagine that sticking to a new routine for 66 days straight can still feel pretty daunting. What are some practical things we can do to set ourselves up for success?
Well, one of the most effective things you can do is start small. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire life overnight, focus on one new habit at a time.
So baby steps, basically.
Exactly. Small, incremental changes are way more sustainable in the long run. Once that first habit feels comfortable, you can add another one and then another.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about building momentum, not burning ourselves out before we even get started. What else can we do?
Surround yourself with support. Having people who encourage you, who maybe even want to join you on this journey, can make all the difference. Accountability buddies, friends, family, online communities, anyone who can cheer you on and keep you accountable.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders, or even better, fellow adventurers, to share the journey with. What else?
Visual reminders are powerful. Put up sticky notes with inspiring quotes, create a vision board, or even just keep your workout clothes by your bed as a visual cue to get moving.
I love that. It's about creating a physical reminder of what we're working towards.
And don't forget to reward yourself along the way. Celebrate those milestones, big and small. A relaxing bath after a week of early mornings, a special treat after a month of consistent exercise, whatever feels good.
Rewards are always good. It's like we're training our brains to associate those new habits with something positive.
Exactly. It makes the journey much more enjoyable. Okay, so we've battled through destruction, we've made it through installation, and we finally reached that blissful state of integration. We're waking up at 5 a.m., we're feeling amazing, we've got this whole routine down. What happens next? Do we just coast on autopilot forever?
That's a great question. What happens after we've conquered the 66-day challenge? Right, so we've mastered our mornings, we've conquered those 66 days, and now we're standing at the foot of this second mountain. I'm definitely feeling a sense of accomplishment, but also, I gotta admit, a little bit of, okay, what's next?
Well, imagine you've reached the summit of that first mountain, right? You've hit all those external markers of success, the career, the material things, the recognition.
Yeah.
But as you're standing there, you realize something's missing.
Like, is this all there is? I've heard people talk about that feeling. It's like achieving those goals doesn't always bring the fulfillment we thought it would.
Exactly. And that's where the second mountain idea comes in. It's about shifting from a focus on having to being, becoming the best version of yourself, living in alignment with what truly matters to you.
So it's less about climbing that ladder of success and more about creating something meaningful both for ourselves and for others. But how do we even begin to define what that second mountain looks like? It all seems a bit abstract.
It is a personal journey, for sure, but those habits and tools we've been talking about, that victory hour, the 4 interior empires, that focus on building those new habits, they all lay the groundwork for this next phase.
So it wasn't just about becoming more productive or efficient. It was about preparing for something bigger.
Exactly. Think about that quiet time you carved out during your victory hour. It wasn't just about getting ahead of your to-do list. It was about getting ahead in life intentionally.
So instead of just planning our day, we're reflecting on our values, connecting with our purpose, asking ourselves those big questions like, what really matters? And what impact do I want to make?
Exactly. And those answers might take a little time to surface, but starting each day with that intention allows those answers to emerge.
And that grow time takes on a whole new meaning, too.
Yeah.
We're not just absorbing information. We're feeding our souls, fueling our journey of self-discovery.
Right. The books we read, the podcasts, even just the conversations we have, they all become part of this ongoing exploration of ourselves.
I'm seeing how the 4 interior empires play a crucial role here. We need a strong mindset to face those inevitable challenges, a compassionate Heartset to connect with others in meaningful ways, a vibrant Healthset to keep our energy up, and an awakened Soulset to guide us in the right direction.
It's like we've built this solid foundation for a life of purpose. And that move piece of the puzzle, it takes on a new meaning, too. It's not just about being physically fit. It's about having the energy to actually pursue your dreams.
I love how this all ties together, but if I'm being honest, it feels a bit overwhelming. Where do we even start? How do we go from these morning rituals to actually making a real difference?
Well, remember those islands of genius we talked about? They become even more important now. It's about using those blocks of focused time not just to be productive, but to be creative, to innovate, to contribute your unique skills to something bigger than yourself.
So it's about finding that intersection of our passions, our talents, and what the world needs, and then using those focused blocks of time to make it happen, to create, to build, to contribute.
Exactly. And the best part, there's no one right way to do this. The second mountain is unique to each person. Maybe it's starting a business that aligns with your values, or dedicating your time to a cause you believe in, or creating art, or writing, or just being a more present parent.
It's about finding that sweet spot where our hearts, our skills, and the needs of the world come together, and then having the courage to actually act on it, even if we don't know exactly where it'll lead.
That's the beauty of it. It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. It's embracing the unknown, trusting the process, and knowing that even small actions, when guided by purpose, can have a ripple effect.
So, the 5 a.m. Club, it's not just about waking up early. It's about waking up to our full potential, to what truly matters, to a life that's not just successful, but fulfilling.
Beautifully said, and maybe that's the perfect note to end on. If you could design your ideal victory hour right now, what would it look like? What activities would fill those 20-minute blocks? And most importantly, what kind of life would it help you create?
That's a great question to ponder. We'll leave our listeners with that thought. Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep.